off the tracks. Oh boy. It's Jhett. It's Rafe. We're back.
Uh-oh.
Wow.
Who let us have
Felt
fun
good to
again?
say that one.
Who let us have
It
fun
felt
again?
good to say that one. Who let the kids out of the house? You know? Who let... Listen, let me tell you something right now, man. All right, we talked a little bit. All right, OTT's here. We're back. All right, we've said it before. We'll say it. Hopefully I'll say it again.
We probably will, but we won't. But we're not. No, we're not. We're not.
We're back. All right, we're back. And with everything, it's ironic that maybe they're coming back the year that the Thunder look like a contender. I don't know. I think
The
it's...
Pacers look good.
I don't believe in coincidences, but...
It is more fun to talk about your teams when they're good.
I know, and that's something, you know, kind of... You know, I've had a lot of high expectations for my teams, especially this season specifically, and they have I'm 0 for right now.
It's okay.
So really hoping.
There's always time.
Your Thunder, though, really good opportunity this season, and they looked very good last night. They defeated the Nuggets 102-87, opening night for both the Thunder and the Nuggets. I mean, you're a Thunder fan, so I'll let you eat here.
Mm-hmm.
What were you looking for from the Thunder, and did they hit what you were looking for?
Honestly, I was just looking for a win. I mean, I didn't. There's a lot of questions that have been that have arose about the Nuggets now after that game that I was not anticipating. So I was just looking for a win. I was looking at the defensive end. Offensively, they didn't look great. They didn't. That's the scary part. Is offensively, they didn't even look their best, and they still walked the Denver Nuggets out of their own home arena. Defensively, they look great, though, and I'm really happy about that because I think they can be really special on the defensive end with the addition of Caruso, who was, by the way, a game-high plus 19 without scoring a single point on the floor. The Thunder looked great, and that made me really happy.
Well, you got to look at that, the offense as a whole, and that's one thing that I looked at with a few teams from these games, the Thunder being one of them, is they shot 22% from three. That's something that's not going to stay the same.
Right.
They shot 22% from three, 8 of 36, and still beat the Nuggets on their home floor by 15 points, which the Nuggets will talk about in a moment. But this Thunder team, like you said, defensively looked really good. I thought Caruso played really good on the defensive end. Lou Dort didn't have a great game offensively, but defensively, he's looking like Lou Dort. Chet Holmgren, I mean, what else can you say about him?
Unbelievable. That was the best surprise of the game right there. Because you add Hartenstein, he's supposed to be your big body to face these. The West is the conference of the bigs. You got AD, you got Jokic, you got Gobert, Nurkic, low key, Zubac in LA. It's the conference of the bigs. And Hartenstein was the guy that they brought in to be the big stopper and the rebounder for him. But Chet said, with Hartenstein out, he said, hold on, I can do that too. He proved it against Jokic, and that was a very pleasant surprise for me.
I think if you pull that together, because you already have Shea's defense, we understand how good that is. But you're pulling us together as now Chet's playing good defense with Hartenstein coming off the bench whenever he comes back. I mean, that's a dangerous defense. That was already a good defense. And now you're looking at it as, wow. I mean, how are we going to score against these guys? And not only how are we going to score against these guys, how are we going to outscore that offense whenever it starts clicking? It was the first game of the season for the Thunder. Also the first game of the season for the Nuggets. I mean, has this team taken a step back?
A giant step back. And honestly, I didn't see that coming at the beginning of this year. I didn't realize leading into this, there is a major drop-off when you start heading into that bench of Denver. Once Jokic comes off the floor, once Murray comes off the floor, there is not a lot to be desired for on the offensive end of the ball, and that is going to be... The Western Conference is tough this year. A lot of teams have gotten better. That's going to be tough to overcome this year.
I think that the Ron Holmes injury, him being out for the year, is proving to be such a big loss, bigger than maybe anyone anticipated. Because like you said, whenever Jokic and Murray weren't on the floor, there was nothing here for the Nuggets. Michael Porter Jr. did not play well. He did not shoot well at all from the floor, and defensively, he's, Michael Porter Jr. Jamal Murray, I wasn't exactly impressed with. Christian Brown, I mean, if that's I don't think that's a guy that anyone wants to turn to. Obviously, Jokic is Jokic, but I mean, when we were going on the bench and you're seeing Russell Westbrook play 21 minutes, you're starting to get concerned about the depth of that team, especially when you're seeing the depth on the other side of the floor with the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Yeah, I mean, the Thunder are one of the deeper teams, and they have three rotation guys out last night, and you could still see the depth. So they're one of the deeper teams. Not every team's going to be that deep, but I don't know if there's another team that's as thin as what the Nuggets are right now. It's not a good look. I would suspect they make a move once we get closer to the trade deadline to try and compete, because with Jokic and Murray, they're going to beat some of the worst teams, and they'll be, honestly, I think at the end of this year, they'll be more towards the 4, 5, 6 seed range, but we'll see what happens.
There's another team in the West that I'm a really big fan of that's not named the Oklahoma City Thunder. I think these two teams are in a league of their own when it comes to the West. The Dallas Mavericks. Going into the Thunder game, the team I'd been the most impressed with in the West was Dallas. I was watching that Thunder game, and I'm still more impressed with Dallas, I think. I think Dallas right now, if I had to pick a team right now after one game to make it out of the Western Conference, I would pick the Dallas Mavericks. Here's why. Luka Doncic is still Luka. He's still Luka. He's still going to put up triple-double numbers every night. 28, 10, and 8 in this one against the Spurs. And I understand it's the Spurs. We'll talk about them in a moment. But Klay Thompson's putting up 22. Obviously, Klay Thompson's not going to average 22 points a game this season. But if you can get 12 or 15 out of him on a nightly basis, it's tough to find a team that's play particularly amazing. But he still put up 15 points. And I think that you're looking at the way I was looking at the Thunder of the three-point shooting is going to come. I'm not worried about it. Kyrie Irving is going to come along. His depth, they lost Derrick Jones Jr. I was curious how they would fill that, but Jaden Hardy, Derek Lively, both played really big roles in this one. Daniel Gafford as well is such an underrated defender.
Yeah, the Mavericks played well. Daniel Gafford, they got him last year at the trade deadline, and that was the move that really shifted them from a playoff team to a legit contender in the West. I do still have questions about the Mavericks defense. Their offense is absolutely prolific. They can outscore any team in the league by far. Is that sustainable to win games like that? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see whenever they start playing some more of the better competition in the league. But yeah, Klay Thompson showing up in the way that he did was huge for Klay, was huge for the Mavericks. We know the story of Klay and what he's been the past year. Hasn't really looked like himself. But yeah, if he can be that, then I'm afraid of the Mavericks as a Thunder fan.
Klay Thompson, this is the first time he's hit 5+ threes and had 3 steals in a game since 2019. It's been 5 years. Was a change of scenery all Klay needed to maybe find his jump shot again, or was this something that we should not continue to expect out of him?
I'm still on the fence with that because, again, I think they'll see better defenses. Klay's going to get open shots no matter who they play against because Luka and Kyrie are going to attract that much attention. But I don't think they're going to be as wide open as we saw last night whenever they played the Spurs. So we'll see. I think that's still yet to be determined. It's a good step in the right direction, though. Was it the change of scenery? Maybe. But look, Klay Thompson is an unbelievable shooter. He wasn't going to be quiet like he has been for long, especially if it was really bothering him, he was going to find a way to make shots.
Real quick, I don't want to spend too much time talking about the Spurs. I was sort of impressed by that young core that they're building there. Julian Champagnie led them in scoring last night with 18. Jeremy Sohan also had 18. Wembanyama, 17 and 9, didn't shoot the ball particularly well, but that's obviously going to change. Blake Wesley came in late in the game and played pretty well in garbage time. Stephon Castle, their first-round draft pick this year, looked really good. I'm really liking the core there for San Antonio. I think that's going to be a really good team in the next couple of years. But this year, I still think they are far and out of it. Chris Paul, man, time to let it go. All right, Gucci backpack, it's over.
I don't know. I think that's a good veteran presence to have there.
You think?
I think he's a good guy to teach, because I mean, I'm a little partial here because I look back to when Chris Paul joined the Thunder and he was kind of that mentor for Shea, and you see what Shea became. So I'm not saying, Chris Paul is going to be a guy that pushes them further in the standings, but I think he could be a guy that mentors some of those young guards they have there, and we may see a jump in the next few years from one of those guys, which would obviously be huge. But yeah, the Spurs, they could sneak into the play on this year, but I'm not expecting much from them.
Paul, that could be interesting with Stephon Castle if maybe it's the same mentorship role that he did have with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Two teams have played 2 games to this point. One of those was the Boston Celtics. They are 2-0. They knocked off the Washington Wizards 122-102. Washington made this a game there in the first half. Jordan Poole came out and scored 17 in the first 7 minutes of this one. Only had 9 points the rest of the game, but I'm not like saying that the Wizards are going to be spectacular, but I think that Cooper Flagg might not be a Wizard at this point a year from now.
I would say there's teams probably worse than the Wizards right now. As for Boston, man, they are in a league of their own. They're showing why they were the world champions last year. They brought every key player back. And for whatever reason, somehow, people within the basketball world decided to make Jaylen Brown mad, decided to make Jason Tatum mad, and they're playing with a chip on their shoulder. And we heard about, Tatum talking about how he wanted to win MVP this year whenever he's with Team USA. That's really all he was talking about, and it looks like it. His 3-point shot looks great. The Celtics as a whole look unbelievable, and yeah, they're still definitely the team to beat.
Two of them, Brown and Tatum, combined for 52 points in this one. Also on top of that, 5 steals between the two of them. Brown had 4 steals in this game. They shot well, played really good basketball. Another guy that's playing really good basketball for the Celtics and did last year, continues to get, I want to say underrated, but I think he's so underrated now that maybe he's starting to get just right. And that's Derek White.
Yep.
I mean, he's minus a 33 in this one. Shot 54% of the field, 19 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, had a steal. Just such a great defender. Every team wants a Derek White on their team.
Yeah, I mean, he does it. He literally does it all. He can shoot, he can defend, he can rebound. He's a battler. Low post, on the perimeter, doesn't matter. He's going to find a way to get a stop. He's going to find a way to get the ball. And as I said, the shooting is a plus to that as well. You see parallels, I think, with the Thunder team. The Celtics are definitely better than the Thunder by far as of right now, but you see parallels in the types of players that these teams like to bring in. Scrappy defenders that can shoot the ball and really that can do it all on the floor, and that's what these two teams are built of.
Peyton Pritchard also in this one. I mean, it seems like he's kind of taken that step in these first 2 games. Had a really good third quarter in this one. He scored 9 points. That was really when the Celtics started pulling away. They went up 20 and never really gave up that 20-point lead. How big is it if Peyton Pritchard really takes that step and becomes the knockdown shooter that the Celtics are really looking for?
I mean, it's huge. Do they need more shooting? No, but I think more so if you put your GM cap on, you think you can't keep all of these guys together forever, right? You're going to have to make some decisions at some point down the line, probably relatively soon. So if you got a guy that starts taking a step, that starts making a leap, that makes other decisions easier for you as a general manager. Obviously, you don't want to lose anybody, but you can't pay everybody. So this year, yeah, it's big, but in terms of future, that could be really huge.
Talking about the Minnesota Timberwolves, who are 1-1 through 2 games. They have, I think that maybe the jury is still out on them. They lose to the Lakers in game 1 of the season. They come back last night, and so far it's early, but the best game from the NBA season so far, I guess you could argue Suns and Clippers, but this was really back and forth. Sacramento made this a game late and nearly pulled it out, but 33 from Julius Randle, 32 from Anthony Edwards, even 19 and 13 from Naz Reid. Where are you at on Minnesota?
I love Minnesota. I think they are right below Oklahoma City in terms of contenders in the West. I know people question the trade, getting rid of Cat, bringing in Julius Randle, bringing in Dante DiVincenzo. I think it made them better. People question the spacing with Julius Randle and all these other issues that might arise. I think you've got a legit 1-2 punch with Ant and Julius Randle, along with great role players, great defenders, which is huge. I think Minnesota is going to be really good this year.
I think, and I said this a little bit last night, and it kind of came with some disagreements in the house, but I think Julius Randle is a better player than Karl Anthony Towns. And we can make the argument of not spacing the floor as much. He shot 6 threes last night, hit 5 of them. You know, he is spacing the floor just fine. He's going to. People forget how good Julius Randle is when he's healthy. You know, and now that he's outside of the LA media, now that he's outside of the New York media, and he's going to go play in Minnesota where no one's really going to care about him probably until April, I think he's going to quietly have an average 25 a game this year. Really, really solid. Look, this team is good top to bottom. Conley didn't play great last night. You expect that to change. Rudy Gobert, you know, you never really know what you're going to get out of him. But I think that DiVincenzo came over, played really well. McDaniels definitely want a better performance out of him moving forward. I think Nickeil Alexander-Walker is one of the most important pieces on this team.
Great defender.
And again, we talk about Derek White. Alexander Walker is... Everyone wants Nickeil Alexander-Walker on their team. There's a few guys like that. Daniel Gafford's another one of them. But another team I really like, fell short in this one, but the Sacramento Kings. Losing by 2, but I really think there's a lot to look at in this game and be very happy about moving forward.
Yeah, I'm not as high on the Kings, especially in this Western Conference. They were a play-in team last year. Honestly, I feel like I could see them being a play-in team again this year. You know, they had that really good year. What was that, 2-3 years ago? I can't remember exactly what year it was, but they had that really good year where they broke.
3 seed.
Yeah, they broke the playoff drought. They were a top seed in the West. I don't know if they're going to reach that height again as it stands. They have nice pieces. It doesn't make sense because coming off of that really good season, they really didn't lose any of those key pieces there outside of Malik Monk, maybe. Malik Monk's still there, sorry. But I don't know. I don't see the Kings really moving up from where they were last year a whole lot.
I kind of agree, but I also think the addition of DeMar DeRozan is going to be huge. I love DeRozan.
That is going to be big.
Team. I love Keegan Murray. I think Keegan Murray is such a good player. He's a very underrated player. He had 23 points last night. Bonus had 24. De'Aaron Fox is really starting to step up as a scorer as well. He was late in the stretch last night. They were almost playing through Malik Monk, whether they liked it or not, whether they knew they were playing through Malik Monk or not. Malik Monk was really getting downhill and taking it to the rim, and I was impressed with him. Another thing is going to be depth with this team. They signed McDermott here recently. He only had 5 minutes of play. Kevin Huerter off the bench was, I guess, okay. He was in there when they started going on a run. I don't know. I'm still like, I don't think I'm out on the Kings. I definitely think that I am leaning more towards this is a top, maybe a 4-5 seed in the West this year. I really like the Kings a lot, and I'm gonna continue to be high on them. Couple teams that maybe there are still questions about played each other on Wednesday. Phoenix defeats the Los Angeles Clippers. The Intuit Dome debut. What an awesome arena, by the way.
I love it.
Suns win 116-113 in overtime. Oh, it's the best. It's the best.
First of all, let's talk about that for a second. Credit to Steve Ballmer. One, the arena is awesome. A lot of cool features in it. The wall is great. I know people like to meme on the wall when it was announced. It is awesome, dude. And dare I say, it's not completely, but there was a little bit of a college atmosphere in there in the NBA arena, which, whether you like college or NBA more, the college atmosphere is far and away better. If you can somehow get that into professional sports, I think that's a win for everybody. That's a win for the players. I think they would love to play in front of an atmosphere like that night in and night out. It's a win for the fans. Great atmosphere to watch. So it was the debut game. So obviously there's going to be a lot of people there anyways, regardless. We'll see if they'll keep it up. But that was a great atmosphere. Huge win by the Clippers organization for that new arena and all the cool things with that. As for the team, I will say this. I think they will be better than I had initially anticipated. I think they're going to be a better defensive team than what I had thought, especially when Kawhi gets back, if he's ever able to get back. I hope he's able to get back. They'll be a pretty special team on the defensive end. However, we've talked about it on here before. We sparked a little controversy talking about James Harden before. I just don't think you can win playing with James Harden on the offensive end, and I think that's going to hold him back.
That's where I'm at with this team, because this Clippers team is like, they're good. And I don't really know if anyone is going to disagree with me on that, the fact that they're good. James Harden ball is not winning basketball, and it never has been, and it's proven time and time again in multiple different places. He proved it in Houston, and he proved it when he was out in, I mean, even last season with the Clippers. He proved it in Philadelphia as well. It's just not a winning brand of basketball. Still at 29, 12, and 8. And the thing is one, I'm tired of saying when Kawhi gets back, and I think Kawhi is a phenomenal player. He when he's healthy and when he's playing and when he's locked in, I mean, he's a top 5 player in basketball, maybe top 3. And honestly, he might. I don't want to say he's the best, but when Kawhi's healthy, it's very hard for you to put a basketball player in front of me that's better. Zubac, I've always been a Zubac believer. He's playing well. The question is, it falls off from there. You have Norman Powell, which is fine. He had 17 last night. Eric Jones Jr. I'm just not relying on these guys to win me a championship. And maybe the Clippers aren't thinking championship this season. After losing Paul George in the offseason. I can't, in good conscience, when thinking about teams that can make it out of the West, I'm not thinking about the Clippers.
Yeah, you can't. There's just too many teams.
Are you, though, when you're...
Go ahead, yeah.
When you're thinking about the Phoenix Suns, however, who won this game in overtime, are you thinking finals?
I don't know if I'm thinking finals yet for the Suns, but I think they're much better than what they were last year. And a lot of that has to do with health. Bradley Beal was hurt for a lot of last year, and he looked really comfortable within this offense against the Clippers. If he can settle into that kind of third star spot, I know he had more points than Devin Booker, but obviously Devin Booker is going to be your number 2 option throughout the year. But if he can settle into that third option spot, I think Phoenix can be really, really good. I like their depth. I like the pieces they have coming off the bench. I believe in Phoenix a lot this year. Maybe not so much finals, but I think they're going to make a jump from where they were last year.
I think so as well. When you watch that game, Kevin Durant down the stretch was really taking the game over. It was really fun to watch. I do think this team is solid. Am I thinking finals? Like I said, I still have the Thunder and the Mavericks in a completely different tier in the Western Conference. So outside of those two teams, I'm really almost not thinking finals for really anyone at this point. I want to talk Warriors. Warriors knock off the Blazers on Wednesday. You say what you will about Portland. Not a great team. They win 139-104. And they looked pretty good in doing it. Where are we at on Golden State?
Well, like you said, they looked great. They scored a lot of points in opening week, where really there hasn't been a ton of points scored by offenses in the NBA. There's a lot of questions heading into this season for Golden State. Obviously, you get rid of Clay in the sign and trade with Dallas. Steph Curry's coming back. We know what Steph is, and we know what he's going to do pretty much on a nightly basis. It was the supporting cast. It was Buddy Hield addition, Draymond Green still being there, and the other young pieces that they have there. Will they be able to pull their weight? Again, it was against Portland. I think those questions haven't been firmly answered yet, but it was a step in the right direction, and it was a pleasant sight for Warriors fans to see an offensive output like that, even if it was against Portland.
This is my point with this Warriors team is again, like you said, Curry is going to do Steph Curry things, and he's going to perform really well this year. A triple-double, and this one was a rebound short, also had a couple steals. I think Trace Jackson-Davis, go Hoosiers. I mean, he is a clear-cut starting NBA player. Moses Moody maybe has taken a step, as well as Jonathan Kuminga. The thing with this is I don't think if Buddy Hield's your leading scorer, I'm not confident. Buddy Hield is going to fall off. He does it every year. He starts out really well. You're thinking, wow, this is a great piece of the team. I love Buddy Hield. Don't trade him. 2 to 3 months from now, you're going to want him off your team. Andrew Wiggins, I don't want to say he's the same, but I don't expect him to put up 20 a night, especially when you're playing better teams. So I am not saying I'm out on Golden State, but there's probably 6-7 teams in the West that are better than Golden State. So
I would agree.
I do think the run is probably over. The run has been over. I guess they won in 22, but the run's been over. So I think Golden State is fun. Maybe they upset a 2 or 3 seed in the playoffs. But other than that, I don't see Golden State doing a whole lot this year. I think Orlando, man, over in the East, I think that's going to be a really fun team. I remember when they traded Nikola Vucevic. I remember after that trade, I believe Wendell Carter Jr. came over in that trade. And instantly I was like, wow, this team moving forward. This is before they had Paolo Banchero. I'm thinking, wow, the future of this team is bright. And it's starting to come to fruition. They played really well last year. They took the Cavs to 7 and lost. This year's looking to be, maybe a year the East, I don't want to say is down, but I think there's a window to get to a 4 seed.
Yeah, I think there's some teams that have taken a step back, and the Magic have definitely taken a step forward. I think they're better than the Cavaliers now. I think we play this series this year, it may not even go to 7, and Magic walks away with a win in that one. They quietly have become a very good team in the East, and I think they're, again, quietly, for whatever reason, they're going to take another step this year, and it may surprise a lot of people come playoff time, but if you're an Eastern Conference team, you better keep your eye on the Magic.
Absolutely agree. Paolo Banchero, 33 and 11. Have you ever seen a number 1 pick be this underrated and not talked about as much as Banchero just gets ignored?
No, I haven't. I mean, nobody that has played as well as he has anyway. It's honestly unbelievable. But even then, even busts get talked about more than Paolo Banchero does right now. He is a special talent. He's a guy that obviously a franchise guy that you can build around for a very long time, and the Magic are doing it right by doing that.
The run is over for Miami. That window is certainly closed, especially with Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler playing the way they did. They combined for 12 points. Jimmy Butler shot 12% from the field. He went 1 of 8. Bam 1 of 5. I don't want to say it sucks for Miami, but you're definitely the run is definitely over there. Bucks and Sixers. A lot of things to say about these two teams. This game in particular, maybe not. Bucks win 124-109. Embiid and Paul George both don't play for the Sixers. Is that going to be something that we're going to need to get used to?
Joel Embiid for sure, yeah. I think Paul George, yes, he has had injury issues as well. The hyperextension of the knee, that was just kind of a freak thing that happened preseason. It was not fun to watch. Probably didn't feel great at all. Hopefully, they're expecting him back within the next couple weeks. Hopefully he can get back and stay healthy. I wouldn't hang my hat on it though, because of the history that he has had in LA. That's the thing with the 76ers this year. They'll make the playoffs. Embiid will play enough games. Paul George will probably play enough games to win enough to get in the playoffs. But I think seeding is going to be big because the East is very, very top heavy. There's some really good teams at the top. The teams in the middle are all right. You don't want to be a team in the middle or towards the bottom and face one of those top teams early round because you're not getting out of there. And I think that's where the issue is going to arise. They'll be all right. They'll win some games, but seeding wise, it's going to be an issue.
Tyrese Maxey had 25 in this one. Shot 32% from the field. A lot of people are high on Tyrese going into this year. I think he's going to have a really good year. As far as East guards go, obviously you have Halliburton with the Pacers, you have Damian Lillard with the Bucks, Garland and Mitchell in Cleveland, as you can even say Jaylen Brown in Boston. Where are you throwing Tyrese Maxey and then in that pool?
I mean, he's definitely up there with the best, especially this year. He's going to have to take on a lot for the 76ers to win some of these games without Embiid, maybe even some more without Paul George. Hopefully not. We'll see what his status is going forward. Hopefully once he's healthy, he stays healthy. But even still, Embiid's going to be out on back-to-backs, other games as well, load management throughout the year. They're going to have to ask a lot out of Tyrese Maxey. I would say he's a top. I mean, you could probably put Jaylen Brown ahead of him. You could probably put Halliburton ahead of him. I think once you start getting to Donovan Mitchell area, I think he's ahead of Mitchell, but probably top 3, top 4 guard in the East for sure.
Looking on that other side of the ball, we talk about Damian Lillard a little bit. He had 30 in this one, shot 47% from the field. Giannis had 25. This Bucks team, without Chris Middleton in this one, win by 15 points. I mean, are the Bucks I know we can say we're going to talk contender pretender later, and they will fall on one of those for me. How are you feeling about Milwaukee after one game?
I don't want to put too much stock into one game, especially against a very short-handed Sixer team. But it felt like Dame was settled in Milwaukee. Last year, I don't know what it was, even though he just got there, it was his first year there. It just kind of felt like this unsettling feeling of Dame might not even be here after this year. Well, he's back. Seems like he's settled in. Seems like he's acclimating with this offense a little bit more. I think Milwaukee will creep up into that contender status in the East. They may not be able to compete with those other top teams necessarily, but I think Dame's going to have a nice year alongside Giannis, and the Bucks might make some noise.
Want to talk contenders and pretenders. Now that we've gotten through a lot of the marquee games that have taken place, everyone's played one game now. It's time to, I don't want to say overreact because we're going to get into that segment after this a little bit, but contenders and pretenders. You've got the Western Conference. I'll let you start it out. I've got the East. Who are three contenders from the Western Conference?
The contender side of this was pretty easy for me. Again, I don't want to put a whole lot of stock into these first game or two games, depending on how many of the teams have played. I'm just kind of looking at roster and where I project these teams to be heading into the playoffs. Obviously, a team could make a move and things could change, but let's just assume nothing happens here. Number one, I've got the Thunder. I think they proved that they're the best defensive team in the West. They were the number one seed last year, and you can ask every basketball fan. If they're smart, they're going to say they got better this year. You trade Giddey for Caruso straight up. You add a Hartenstein to fill a hole that was big for them, that was rebounding. They got better. They're the number one contender for me. Right under them, though, is the Timberwolves. Again, we talked about them earlier. I really like the trade. I think they've got good depth. Again, another great defensive team. And they're the team that scares me the most as a Thunder fan. The number three contender, I kept going back and forth on this. There's a couple teams that I like here, but I had to go with the Mavericks at the number three contender spot in the Western Conference. I have questions on the defensive end of the ball. Offensively, though, again, try not to put too much stock in one game, but Clay looked good in that offense. And if he's the one that's going to be taking, if you remember last year, taking those open shots was Derrick Jones Jr., PJ Washington in the corners. You know, it burned the Thunder because they shot, it was an outlier series. They shot well in that series. But once you get to the finals, it hurt them. Now Clay's going to be taking those shots. That might be a problem for a lot of teams. So they're my number three contender in the West.
I got the East here. My contenders, obviously, I've got the Celtics up there. These are three teams, by the way, that I think have a chance to make it out of the East, or that have the best chance to me to make it out of the Eastern Conference. Boston Celtics at one. I think it's obvious. We talked about them a little bit earlier on. Obviously, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are coming in with a bit of a chip on their shoulder after winning the championship and just being kind of slandered the entire offseason. Derek White is going to continue to do what Derek White does. It kind of seems like Peyton Pritchard is taking a nice little step. The Celtics are really in a league of their own. Mazzulla is one of the best coaches, if not the best coach in the NBA in 2024. I love watching him coach. I love watching his systems. I think they've hit 40. How many threes have they hit in the first, 2 games? They hit 29 and then 17 last night.
A lot.
So, I mean,
I don't know the exact number, but it's a lot.
46 threes.
Yeah.
46 threes through 2 games. That's unbelievable. I don't think they'll slow down. At 2, I got the Indiana Pacers. I think a lot of people are going to have them on the pretender side, but I think when you get a full season of Pascal Siakam, you're getting a healthy Tyrese Halliburton back. Look, this team's deep. James Wiseman going down with the injury. He's going to be out for the season. That is really going to hurt them because I was very hopeful that Wiseman was going to come in and fill a big role, especially with Isaiah Jackson out for a little bit. Miles Turner remains one of the most underrated players in the NBA. Halliburton didn't play great in this one, but that's going to change. They barely knock off the Pistons, but come on, the Pacers always struggle against the bad teams. They play really good against the good ones. They proved that last season. I think the Pacers look really good. I know you said earlier on in the pod that maybe you're a little out on Cleveland, but I love this team. I love this team. I live with a Cavs fan, and he's kind of out on them as well. He doesn't really care for the way that the team is constructed. I do. I think Evan Mobley has taken a leap. I think Evan Mobley is a really good player. A lot of people were out on him out of the draft. I love Evan Mobley. I think he's going to be really good. Coupled with Donovan Mitchell, Harris LeVert puts up 19 in his 20 minutes. He played phenomenally. Only missed a single one shot. He went 8 of 9 from the field. Darius Garland's not going to play this bad throughout the rest of the season. He only had the 7 points in this one, 3 of 12 from the field. Still had the 6 assists, was positive on the floor in the 30-point win for them. This team is really deep. This team is so deep with Jared Allen as well. I love this Cavs team. I genuinely think this is a top 3 seed in the East this year. As far as pretenders go, we both kind of struggled with this one. I'm curious as to who you think is maybe a fake contender over there in the Western Conference.
Yeah, so we wanted to keep this to teams that most people think of probably contenders or may have an outside chance at the championship. We didn't want to throw any pretenders in there that obviously aren't contenders. So first up for me are the Clippers. There's probably some people out there that think that this could be a force in the West. Right now, they're not it. Without Kawhi, with Kawhi, either way, I think there's just too many teams ahead of them right now. Again, I think they'll be better than what maybe I thought they were initially, but not enough to be a contender in the West. Number 2, they initially weren't going to be on this list until I watched what happened to them last night as the Nuggets. Again, I didn't realize how bad the bench was. Another point here, they're not a great shooting team at all. You got Murray. He can shoot the ball well. Jokic, obviously, can shoot a little bit from the outside. Then you got Porter Jr., who he'll shoot them. He will shoot them. But are they going to go in all the time? Probably not.
Shooters and makers.
Yeah.
There are shooters and makers.
He'll blow hot every once in a while. After that, there is no shooting on that team. And in today's game, in college, NBA, high school, it doesn't matter where you go. If you got shooters, you're going to win. And that's the way the game is played today. Number 3 spot, I didn't want to put him here, but I had to. I ran out of people that could be a contender potentially. It's the Phoenix Suns. I believe in them. I do believe in them. I think they've gotten better. They added Mike Budenholzer as a coach, which I think is an underrated move. An issue last year was fourth quarter scoring, really clutch time points, but fourth quarter scoring. I think they showed a really good step in the right direction against the Clippers. Close game late in the fourth quarter. It goes into overtime as well. KD did well in overtime. Or late in the fourth quarter, Bradley Beal did well in overtime. Devin Booker fouled out, so he wasn't there late in the game. But they showed improvements in that area. That was the biggest issue really last year outside of injuries for the Phoenix Suns, in my opinion. They showed a step in the right direction. I think they'll be better, but this year, unfortunately, they're a pretender.
Looking at the Eastern Conference, my 3 pretenders, I just switched one, but I'll start out with the Milwaukee Bucks. I know I just spoke highly of them, and they looked great. You have Dame, you have Giannis, both doing their thing, performing really well against a Sixers team that was without Paul George, without Joel Embiid, really no one to stop the two of them. Bobby Portis, I don't know how much I believe in him as a consistent player. Same with Connaughton, same with Brook Lopez. Taurean Prince is not going to put up 16 a night for you moving forward. I think they're going to struggle late in the year. Maybe not even late in the year. I think they're going to struggle finding guys to score. You'll get Middleton back, and that's going to be huge for them, as you're going to have 3 guys that are capable of putting up 30 points every night, and you never know where it's going to come from. They'll probably do it at the same night sometimes. But I've just seen how the Bucks perform when it comes time to win. And they lost a big series last year to the Pacers. I know they had no Giannis. They had no Dame. They were going to lose that series regardless if they had Giannis, if they had Dame for I believe he missed the last 2 games of that series, maybe 3. The Bucks were never winning that series. I don't think the Bucks are done for, but I think even Giannis internally saying that, a trade, is definitely becomes something after this season. Number 2, I've got the New York Knicks. I think the Knicks, for the same reason I always was against these super teams when they first started. There's one basketball on the floor, and you bring in these guys like, you have Brunson there already, who relies heavily on his scoring. You have McBride there coming off the bench, which I think did he start in this game?
I'm not sure. He got a lot of minutes though.
Came off the bench and he got hot. Bridges he did not play well at all in this game. OG Anunoby did not play well at all in this game. There's too much inconsistency here. I think Karl Anthony Towns brings teams down. And if you looked at this Knicks team, they perform better without Julius Randle. I think that when I remember watching the playoffs this past season, and when Cat went to the bench in favor of Naz Reid, I'm thinking, you got to trade this guy. I didn't think the Knicks were at all a contender in that. I thought that they were fine without Randle. I thought they should have maybe traded Randle for some depth. I don't know. I think they're a pretender. And here I had the Miami Heat, but like I don't even think they're pretending. I don't think they're trying to pretend. I think they understand they're not contending. So I threw Philly in here, similar to how you have Phoenix. I think there's a lot of question marks about playing time. You talked about the seeding. If they get a 6 seed, 7 seed, they're going to be in trouble right out of the gate. So I'll throw Philly in there for now. I'm curious to see how they'll perform with Maxey, George, and Embiid when they're all playing. I got 5 questions for you. I want me to tell you if they're overreactions or not, and a little bit on why.
All right.
First, the Cleveland Cavaliers will make it out of the East. Am I overreacting?
Yeah, I would say that's a high overreaction. They'll be a playoff team for sure, but again, the East is very top heavy, but the top of that is very good. Celtics, very good. The Pacers are very good. The Knicks have question marks, but I still think I would edge them over the Cavaliers as of right now. Sixers when healthy, maybe. But yeah, I just don't see the Cavaliers making it all the way out of the East.
The Celtics are easily going back-to-back.
That one's a tough one. Easily, I don't know. Going back-to-back, I would say yes, though. I think there's not a team in the league that is better than them. We'll see if any team makes any moves to try and contend with that, but I think it'll be tough. It's always tough to go back-to-back. I think they will do it, though.
The Mavericks will win the NBA Finals.
Again, I think it's definitely doable, but I think the Celtics are just too good. I think that's a bit of an overreaction right now. I think there's a lot of question marks still on that Mavericks team that we'll see play out throughout the year, but it's still the Celtics league to lose right now.
Here you go. I know you're going to love this one. Chet Holmgren is going to be a starter in the All-Star game.
I don't know about a starter. That might be too far. I think he can make the All-Star game this year. He had a really good game defensively against Jokic, which, again, I said earlier, really a pleasant surprise for the Thunder. I think there's other solid bigs in the West right now that still will edge him out over the course of the year. I think they'll consistently play a little bit better than Chet. I love Chet, and if he could consistently do this, that'd be great. But I'd say that's a little bit of an overreaction right now, but I do think he makes the All-Star game.
Finally, J.J. Redick makes the Los Angeles Lakers a top 3 team in the West.
He doesn't make them a top 3 team in the West, but he makes them a lot better. I think I love J.J. Redick, and I hope he does well. Even though I'm not a huge Laker fan, I hope J.J. Redick does well. I will say that first game with the Lakers, I know people don't think coaching matters, and in the NBA it probably doesn't matter a whole lot. But it looked like an offense out there. Last year, the Lakers offensively, I didn't know what they were doing. It was pretty much LeBron with the ball, which is a good game plan, don't get me wrong. But there was comprehensive sets out there. There was advanced basketball being played on the offensive end. And it was a pleasant surprise. It was a pleasant sight to see from the Lakers. And I don't think he makes them a top 3 team, but I think the Lakers will be better this year.
It's going to be all for our show today. I mean, a great ep. We've highlighted some games that have taken place. Everyone's played one game. The newness is still definitely very much a case. Teams will rise, teams will fall, teams will go on runs, teams are going to fall off, and that's okay. We're going to cover it all here on OTT because we're back. Wanting to keep these going. Loving the NBA this year. I actually have a league pass first 3 months this year for free. Shout out FanDuel. We can do that now. But yeah, we got some good games going on tonight. Real quick then, actually, with the games going on tonight, there are 2 primetime games tonight that I want to get your prediction on. Pacers traveling to Madison Square Garden to take on the New York Knicks.
It's a big game. It's a big game. It's a big game for both teams, I think, to see where they're at early on in the year. I say the Pacers edge this one out by 5 points.
I think the Knicks are going to win, and I think they might win by a lot. Being in Madison Square Garden, coming off the loss, they're going to have a chip on their shoulder early on in the year. They need a big game out of Bridges, and even, Brunson and Hart are probably going to perform well. It's a rivalry, though. Finally, at 10 o'clock tonight, the Suns traveling to Crypto.com Arenas. That's still what it's called, right?
It is.
Crypto.com?
It is.
That's awesome. Taking on the Phoenix Suns. Lakers favored in this one by 1.5, I believe.
I feel like I gotta stick with the Suns here. I think this will be another close game, similar to what we saw against the Clippers. I like the Suns, though, to edge them out a little bit. I think they got a little bit more depth, but I wouldn't be surprised to see the Lakers take this one. I think they could end up being a threat in the West.
I'm going to take the Lakers because I genuinely think that JJ Redick might make this team a top 3 team in the West. When I said that, asking you overreaction or not, I kind of believe it almost. I think Redick's the best.
I think he's a great coach. I really like JJ. So I hope they're good.
He's a sicko too, man.
He is.
Ian Missoula are complete sickos, and I love it. If I didn't have to I'm getting up about 4 in the morning tomorrow for college game day.
Oh, yeah.
Coming to Bloomington, or else I would stay up and watch this game. But I'm hitting a melatonin at halftime of the Pacers game, hoping to make it through. Thank you guys so much for watching. We're back, man. OTT is back, and don't forget it. Off the tracks. Peace.